cold open. I landed in Tokyo at 3 a.m. after a red-eye, crawled into the tiny hotel sink, stared at the ceiling, and thought, why does my body think it's still brunch in California? I spent 2 hours staring at a bedside lamp and ordering room service I didn't want. If you've ever felt like your internal clock is on its own vacation, this episode is for you. We've got a simple 3-day reset you can try on a layover. Listen to your body, and let's try this together.
Intro. Hi, I'm Fiona. Today, we're breaking down how light and food cues help reset your circadian rhythm without heavy supplements or fancy devices. We'll bring in clear science, safety notes, and a travel-friendly recipe called the Sunrise Reset Broth. The research shows small timed cues can shift your clock, and we'll give you a printable light timing chart and a tracking tool in the show notes.
I'm Samnang, your host and wellness guide. We have 2 guests today, Dr. Elena Morales, a circadian neuroscientist who studies how light and meal timing shape physiology. Welcome, Elena. And Mara Lynn, a culinary herbalist who designs gentle, food-first rituals. So glad you're here, Mara.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk practical timing that actually fits people's lives, especially travelers and shift workers. Happy to be here. I love making remedies that people can prepare in a tiny hotel kettle or a hostel kitchen. Simple is powerful.
Before we dive in, a quick safety note. This episode focuses on short-term, mild circadian disruption, like jet lag or an off night at work. It's not a substitute for medical care. Dr. Morales will outline red flags and when to see a clinician, and our show notes include contraindications and clinician review details. Okay, let's start with the basics. Elena, what is a circadian clock in plain language?
We have a master clock in the brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, that uses light as its primary timing cue, and then many peripheral clocks in organs and tissues that also respond to food, activity, and temperature. The master clock coordinates sleep-wake cycles, hormone rhythms like cortisol and melatonin, body temperature, and digestion. When light and meal timing are aligned with your intended schedule, your body runs more smoothly. When they're out of sync, think crossing time zones or switching to nights. You feel foggy, wired at odd hours, or low energy.
So that explains why I can feel awake at 3 a.m., but then crash mid-afternoon like I've been run over by a tuk-tuk. What are realistic outcomes from trying a short experiment, like 1 to 3 days?
Let me break this down. The research shows short experiments can shift your sleep timing by an hour or 2 within a few days, improve daytime alertness, and reduce the time it takes to fall asleep if the cues are consistent. The bottom line is, don't expect a miracle reset in one night, but you can make measurable improvements in timing and alertness with consistent light and meal cues.
Exactly. And we'll get into specific windows for light exposure. Timing matters. For most people trying to advance their clock, wake earlier, getting bright light in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking is most helpful. To delay your clock, stay up later, light in the evening is the cue. But there are important exceptions, and that's where safety comes in.
Let's pivot to clinical perspective and red flags. Elena, when is bright light or a timed protocol not appropriate? And when should listeners seek a clinician?
Important question. Avoid timed bright light strategies without medical guidance if you have photosensitivity, a history of bipolar disorder, or take medications that increase photosensitivity. Also, if someone has persistent insomnia, excessive daytime sleepiness that interferes with work or driving, or symptoms that suggest a circadian rhythm disorder, like consistently falling asleep very late or waking very early for months, they should see a sleep specialist. And if you're using high-intensity light...
Thank you. That's an important boundary. We'll also call out photosensitivity and bipolar as special cases in the show notes. Quick bridge. For most of our listeners, the safe, gentle options we describe are culinary doses and daylight exposure, rather than clinical light boxes.
That's where food cues shine. Gentle, widely accessible signals. Food timing nudges peripheral clocks in your liver, gut, and muscles. We can use breakfast or a light morning broth as a consistent cue to tell the body it's daytime.
Let's break down what kind of meals help. Nutrient-wise, how do protein,
fats and carbs affect timing? And what's a small caffeine strategy that's travel-friendly?
A balanced morning cue with moderate protein and some carbohydrate seems to signal daytime metabolism without overstimulating. Very heavy, high-fat breakfasts can leave you sluggish, not ideal when you're trying to reset. For caffeine, a small, early dose, think 50 to 75 milligrams, can help alertness, but avoid late doses that shift your sleep window. And for travel, we give a caffeine-free option using rooibos, so pregnant listeners or stimulant-sensitive folks can still use the ritual. From a physiological perspective, timed meals primarily affect peripheral clocks. If you eat at the same local times each day, those tissues start to align. Combine that with morning light, and you get a stronger signal to the master clock. Small caffeine early can enhance alertness, but remember, caffeine also affects sleep latency, so time it strategically.
Okay, I can almost taste a warm broth. Let's introduce the practical, travel-friendly Sunrise Reset Broth. Maura, what is it and why does it work as a morning cue?
The Sunrise Reset Broth is a culinary infusion designed to be warming, hydrating, and aromatic, all gentle cues for morning activation. It uses ginger for a gentle stimulant and digestive signal, a strip of lemon peel for bright scent cues, and a mild green tea for a low-dose caffeine option. Because it's mostly water, it's hydrating, and hydration itself is a small metabolic signal. For full accessibility, we give a rooibos version that's caffeine-free and pregnancy-safe.
Great. Now we'll guide listeners through the recipe slowly. If you're cooking along, have a small pot or an electric kettle and a mug ready. I'll read the ingredients slowly. Ingredient list: 1 cup water, 1 teaspoon grated fresh ginger, 1 small strip of lemon peel, no bitter white pith, 1 green tea bag, or rooibos if you prefer caffeine-free, a tiny pinch of salt, optional 1 teaspoon honey or maple syrup.
Equipment: a small pot or kettle, a spoon, a strainer or tea infuser, and a mug. If you're on a train or in a hotel room, a travel kettle works perfectly.
Step 1. Pour 1 cup of water into your pot and heat to just under a boil. You want it hot, but not violently boiling. Step 2. While it heats, grate about 1 teaspoon of fresh ginger. Smell that aroma. That's the volatile oils waking up. Step 3. When the water is near boiling, add the grated ginger and the lemon peel. Then lower the heat to a gentle simmer. Let it steep for 3 to 4 minutes. You'll see the water take on a faint golden color and smell bright and spicy.
Step 4. Add 1 green tea bag for just 1 minute and then remove it. If you're using rooibos, you can steep for 2 to 3 minutes. Timing is important here because over-steeping green tea makes it more bitter and elevates caffeine extraction. Step 5. Strain into your mug, add a tiny pinch of salt, and if you like, a teaspoon of honey or maple syrup. Stir slowly and notice the warmth in your hands.
Step 6. Sit for a moment, cup in both hands. Breathe the steam in deeply. Lemon and ginger are bright cues. Take a small sip and notice how you feel. This is nourishment and a gentle signal to your system that the day has started. That's the remedy.
Storage tip. You can make a small batch and keep it covered in the fridge for up to 24 hours on travel. Warm it gently. If you want a heartier option, add a splash of coconut milk after straining for richness. For kids, reduce the ginger and use rooibos so it's caffeine-free and gentler.
Quick caution. If you're on anticoagulant medications or are pregnant and unsure about herbs, use the caffeine-free rooibos version and check with your clinician. Ginger is generally safe in culinary amounts, but can interact in higher doses. We list common interaction categories in the show notes.
Now that we have the broth, let's lay out the 3-day microprotocol so listeners know when to use it. Fiona, walk us through day 1 to day 3.
Day 1, arrival or first wake. Upon waking, aim for 30 to 60 minutes of natural daylight if possible. Have your Sunrise Reset Broth within that window. Keep meals light and time to local morning. Avoid long naps longer than 20 minutes. Day 2, repeat morning light and broth. Aim for brief activity outdoors for 15 to 30 minutes mid-morning. Keep caffeine earlier in the day, before early afternoon. Day 3. By now, you should feel a shift in alertness timing. Continue the morning cues and move main meals to local daytime. If you're trying to advance your clock, maintain earlier light and earlier meals. If you're trying to delay, you'd shift the light and meal cues later. We've put exact sample schedules in the show notes.
A quick physiological note. The first 30 to 60 minutes of waking are a high-impact window for light sensitivity. If daylight isn't available, a bright indoor light near a window helps. But again, avoid high-intensity light therapy if you have a history of bipolar disorder or photosensitivity. If you're unsure, consult a clinician before using clinical light boxes.
I like that this is travel-friendly. Grab a kettle, make the broth, step outside with your mug. Mara, any travel packing hacks for herbs and tea?
Yes. Pre-measure grated ginger in a small sealed bag or use freeze-dried ginger for longer trips. Pack small strips of dried lemon peel and bring a favorite tea bag. Rooibos and green tea bags pack tiny and travel well. A small metal tea infuser is lighter than a strainer and easy to clean. If you're flying, check local rules for fresh ingredients, but dried and tea bags are universally allowed.
Accessibility and contraindications. Quick rundown. Pregnancy and breastfeeding, use the Rooibos version and consult a clinician for regular herb use. Stimulant sensitivity, skip green tea and rely on light and the non-caffeinated broth. Photosensitivity and bipolar, avoid timed bright light without medical clearance. We include all of these details in our show notes and printable chart.
Also, if someone experiences worsening mood symptoms after changing light exposure or sleep timing, stop and seek professional advice. If you have a medical condition or are on medications that could interact with herbs, check with your provider.
How should listeners track results so they know if the protocol is working? Keep it simple. Nightly sleep onset time, morning sleepiness on a 1 to 10 scale, number of naps and their lengths, and a one-line note about perceived alertness at midday. Try the 3 days, compare notes, and if you see improvement, continue. If symptoms worsen or don't improve, that's a reason to consult a clinician.
You don't need fancy devices. A notebook, your phone timer, and our printable chart will do. And please share your experiment with us. We want to hear what worked and what didn't.
One extra sensory tip. When you drink the Sunrise Reset Broth, breathe in the steam and notice the brightness of lemon and the warmth of ginger. These little rituals anchor the experience. Ritual plus timing equals more consistent cues for the body.
Quick recap from a science angle. Morning light plus a morning meal or broth gives coordinated signals to master and peripheral clocks. Timing matters more than perfection. Small, consistent changes yield measurable shifts. The evidence supports these timed cues for short-term alignment.
Reflection. Start small. Try a single morning. Make the broth, step outside for 10 minutes, and notice how you feel. You've got this. These are tiny acts that add up. Let the body do the rest.
If you're tracking and find no improvement after consistent efforts, or your daytime sleepiness is severe, please seek a specialist. These rituals are powerful for short disruptions, but persistent problems need clinical evaluation. And remember, make the broth your own. Swap lemon for a bit of orange peel, or add a tiny pinch of turmeric if you like the flavor. Just keep doses culinary and gentle.
All right, CTA time. Try our 3-day Sunrise Reset. Download the light timing chart and recipe card in the show notes. And if you make the broth, tag @EarthyRemedy on Instagram or send us a 60-second voice note describing how it felt. We'll share highlights on the show.
And one final line from us. Listen to your body, trust the earth, feel the difference. Thanks to Elena and Mar for joining us. We'll link their resources in the notes.
Thanks, everyone. Subscribe to Earthy Remedy if you haven't, and take one small step toward a steadier day. The printable tracking chart is in the show notes. Use it, see what changes, and be gentle with yourself.